I will call Deirdre Brock to move the motion, and I will then call the Minister to respond. There will not be an opportunity for the member in charge to wind up, as is the convention, for a 30-minute debate. Order, order. Deirdre Brock to move the motion.
Thank you. I beg to move that this House has considered the potential merits of government support for time banking. And it's a pleasure to serve under your chairship, Ms Bardell. I was reflecting ahead of this debate about where and how we find community and how that might have changed over the years. In recent decades, many of the traditional sites and sources of community have become fragmented or have disappeared entirely. The changing nature of careers in the workplace, a decline in membership of religious and community organisations, as well as people relocating more often, among other factors, have perhaps all played a role. It's also ironic, isn't it, that in an era dominated by online social networks and mass communication, for all the many undoubted benefits, we are grappling with issues of social isolation, loneliness, and declining community cohesion. ONS data from March 2021 shows a 7.2% decrease since 2014-15 in those agreeing that people in their local area are willing to help their neighbours, and an 8% fall in people believing others in their neighbourhood can be trusted. And according to the Campaign to End Loneliness, in 2022, nearly 50% of adults in the UK reported feeling lonely occasionally, sometimes, often, or always. Now, there are multiple reasons for these trends, and there's no one easy fix, but they demonstrate very clearly that initiatives like time banking are needed more than ever. And I will declare an interest right now as a long-serving member on Leith's Time Bank Committee in my constituency. So life has changed, and our friends and family don't always live nearby. It's not always easy to ask someone for help, especially if that brings with it a feeling that we can't pay them back. Time banking is a fun, relaxed, quite informal way that enables people to help each other and help bring out the best in all of us. I suppose time banking, you could say, is essentially about neighbours being neighbours. It offers a slightly more formalised approach to creating and sustaining the bonds that have long been fixtures of our communities, and it reaffirms, really, that old adage that the most valuable thing you can offer someone is your time. We all have skills, knowledge and experience to offer that could be beneficial to someone, whether that's gardening, sewing, simple repairs, language skills, running errands, tech skills, helping with shopping, or whatever it might be. Time banking is a way for people to exchange these skills and experience. It's based on a simple premise. For every hour you spend helping someone, you earn an hour back from your time bank. Everyone's time is valued equally, whatever it is that's being offered, and everyone is encouraged to spend their time credits to allow others the chance to make a difference and feel valued. Now, Time Banking UK was founded in 2002, inspired by the growth of time banking in the US. Social activist Martin Simon opened the first bank in Stroud 4 years after the concept was introduced to the UK by FareShares. Martin Simon, having visited Dr. Edgar Kahn and witnessed the time dollar movement in America, was determined to bring that system to the UK, and he began development work from an office at CityWorks in Gloucester, creating Britain's first time bank. 22 years on, there are well over 100 time banks and around 25,000 time bank members across these isles, with an estimated 6.7 million hours of help exchanged. The Time Banking UK, the organisation, helps communities set up time banks by providing all the resources needed. They offer monthly training sessions and networking events, a software platform and startup materials, as well as individual support, advice and guidance. Time banks bring together people of different ages, cultures, backgrounds and abilities who interact with each other on an equal footing and with mutual respect and understanding. Yes, of course.
Can I commend the Honourable Lady, Madam Chair, in bringing this forward? And you can't help but be enthralled by how the Honourable Lady has presented her case for time banking. But does the Honourable Lady not agree that the old Bible truth of do unto others as you would have they do unto you is exactly the very core of the idea behind time banking, and that this allows all people to acknowledge their strengths, get help in return? And taking my speechwriter as an example, she says to me, these fingers are designed for typing, but for others unable to manage this skill, who would be able to provide tuition for a new skill and disability share that could be and all should be encouraged as long as safety is paramount? We need to be assured, Madam Chair, to ask the question, is there a safety aspect to what's put forward?
Sorry, does the Honourable Gentleman mean a safety aspect in terms of monitoring what happens to everyone? Yes, there certainly is, and I'll go on to explain a little bit of the setup of time banks as I continue. But I think he's absolutely got to the heart of what really makes time banks work, that sort of mutual respect and the feeling that you are giving as well as receiving. I think you've hit the nail on the head there. So yes, time banks bring together people of different ages, cultures, backgrounds and abilities who interact with each other on an equal footing and with mutual respect and understanding. So as a time bank member, you are not a volunteer in the traditional sense. You must be prepared to receive from others as well as to give to others. It's this reciprocity that makes time banks, I think, really quite unique. Time Banking UK's case studies show that joining a time bank really can change people's lives. Time bank members learn new skills, meet new people, often from different backgrounds, report better self-esteem and self-confidence, and feel healthier, both mentally and physically. After 6 months as a member of Time Bank, 80% felt a greater sense of community belonging, 74% had made new friends, 74% experienced improved mood or reduced depression, 69% felt more comfortable asking for or receiving help, 66% experienced decreased loneliness, and 60% noted improvements in their quality of life, health and well-being. Now, despite its considerable success over the years, time banking hasn't been raised in the House of Commons since 2011, so a chance to pay tribute and identify opportunities to grow the movement is, I think, long overdue. I, as I mentioned, have been a long-time supporter of the Leith Time Bank, part of UK Time Banking, that organisation, and Time Banking Scotland, and that's been running for over a decade now. Mary O'Connell, Leith Time Bank's development worker, along with Anne Munro, the manager of Leith's wonderful Pilmeni development project, and my committed fellow committee members who sustain Leith Time Bank have been at the heart of its burgeoning success. Its primary focus is to support older people, carers and adults with chronic health conditions, but there are many, many other demographics represented amongst its 200 members. The skills you can offer or ask for are basically as numerous, if not more, as the members. Gardening, sewing, cooking, form filling, helping with the shopping, the list goes on and on. Leith, in my constituency, is a densely populated area, but folk don't always socialise locally, particularly across different groups and generations. And recent waves of gentrification can create tensions. But time banking has been remarkably effective at breaking down barriers and forging connections between old Leithers and new arrivals, forming friendships between people who might not otherwise have ever met. Now, time banks do thrive best at a local level, where members can get to know one another. And Leith Time Bank runs social activities to help facilitate this, as well as sessions like a multicultural cooking group and home energy advice meetings. Every month they offer a program of activities where members can get to know each other in a safe and comfortable environment, ranging from weekly language classes and culture group meetups to one-off events such as a gardening squad through to attending football matches or museums. Now, at the height of the pandemic, communication with loved ones online was a godsend for many folk, but lockdowns also exacerbated that digital divide, and those without access to digital devices faced really increased social isolation. So Leith Time Bank runs a project where people offer their digital skills to support largely, not necessarily completely, but largely older people to learn about tech access and in turn can then get something back in return. Time banks also offer a lot of flexibility, and I know locally this has worked well for students and those with irregular schedules, or just folk juggling various commitments and responsibilities in busy lives who still want to put something into their local area. I mentioned Mary O'Connell from Leith Time Bank. I spent some time with her recently, and she shared some examples of its positive impact. One of their members, for instance, is an 80-year-old man who is visually impaired and lives alone with no friends or family nearby. He earns credits by providing one-to-one Spanish and French lessons in a local cafe with other time members. And in exchange, those members earn credits by accompanying him to medical appointments and social activities, providing practical help with day-to-day needs like shopping, as well as telephone and face-to-face chats. Leith Time Bank also operates a community pot whereby people can donate credit virtually, and it can be used for some who can't contribute, perhaps due to health issues. One gentleman wanted to see a film at a cinema, but he was unable to travel there himself, so he used the community pot to find someone to buddy him for the film. And Mary also told me about an older lady who'd been receiving help through the community credit pot, but felt she had no expertise to give back. But during a group activity, she met with young mums and realised she did indeed have skills to offer, as she was able to teach them all how to make soup. So, just to go on, members have described these time banks as a lifeline, how it's done wonders for their mental health, and reflect on the ability it allows to meet lots of interesting people with good values, and also, of course, meet and befriend people from all sorts of different ethnic backgrounds. Those are just very small examples locally. There are many thousands more interactions like these all across these aisles. The Time Banking UK network has helped create local mutual support structures that can work in tandem with statutory services as well. And at national level, they've worked on projects, UK national level, they've worked on projects with organisations across the charity, public and private sectors, including the likes of Sport England, the National Lottery and Disability Rights UK. I would argue that expanding the time banking network further would have multiple benefits, and I would urge the Minister to consider where the government might be able to lend some support. Our ageing populations, the cost of living crisis and the challenges facing social care all, I think, make the case for time banking to play an enhanced role in our society. Time Banking UK is proposing a 3-year national programme to create multiple time banking networks, including a public awareness programme, because I think that's part of its problem. Not many people actually are aware of time banking and the many benefits it brings, and training in co-production for key members of the social care management and frontline workforce. Additional funding would enable it to expand its operations and realise its vision of a time bank in every village, town and city, on every high street, just as there are GPs and pharmacies. And under this social franchise model, Time Banking UK would set up delivery partnerships with stakeholders who'd include voluntary and support organisations, GPs, health centres and community groups. Further support would also help Time Banking UK implement a system for quality effectiveness and to calculate the social return on investment, and allow more detailed assessments of the impact of time banking for individuals and communities. Also focusing on the amount it saves for statutory services, as well as the creation of an app for UK national interaction between participants and to engage the younger audience. For example, I'm told in terms of costs, just £20,000 to £50,000 would enable the creation of complete start-up packs for 100 new time banks. So, can I strongly urge the Minister to check if he has a time bank in or near his constituency, if he isn't in touch with them already. I'd also thoroughly recommend he consider meeting with Time Banking UK, representatives of whom are here today, to hear more about their proposals in detail. And I'd just like to conclude, Ms Bardell, with a quote from Mary, that fantastic development worker at Leith Time Bank, which I think eloquently captures the essence of time banking. We think the reason Leith Time Bank works so well is it offers opportunities for people of different ages, cultures and backgrounds to come together to share their skills, knowledge and experience with others. Everyone is valued equally, with everyone having something to offer and to receive. Time banking is not just about exchanging services, it's about building relationships, connecting with others in the community and creating a culture of mutual support and collaboration. This approach helps members and the community to connect, build resilience and improve overall well-being. The value of time banking in fostering community cohesion and addressing social isolation, I think, is abundantly clear. Anything we can do to promote and expand the movement would be very welcome. So I very much look forward to hearing the Minister's response. Thank you.
The question is that this House has considered the potential merits of government support for time banking. I now call Minister Stuart Andrew.
Thank you very much. It's a pleasure to serve under your chairship, Ms Bardell, and I'd like to thank the Honourable Lady for tabling this debate on the potential merits of government support for time banking and for a really insightful speech on the benefits that she has clearly witnessed herself. But I wanted to start by, first of all, saying that for me, volunteering is vital for society. And as a government, and I personally, were strongly committed to supporting volunteering in all its forms. And I'd like to thank all volunteers who contribute their time and their energy to support others and make a real difference in their communities. Our latest figures show around 25 million people in England volunteered at least once in the previous 12 months. That's a huge amount of people making a really positive impact in their communities. And I was delighted also to take part in the launch event for this year's Big Help Out campaign that will take place on the 7th to the 9th of June, and it will help raise awareness of volunteering throughout the United Kingdom and provide opportunities for people to experiencing volunteering often for the first time. There's no doubt that the British public's enthusiasm for volunteering was evident during last year's campaign, during the celebration of the coronation of His Majesty the King, with over 6.5 million people volunteering on that day. And I really hope that we can see even more people take part this year. And I'm sure that my honourable friends here today will join me in supporting that campaign. And I'm also grateful to all of those who did so much during the pandemic. I don't think so many people in our country would have had the help and support they needed if it wasn't for those amazing volunteers up and down the country. But we also mustn't forget that quality volunteering does require effort and support. So I also want to take this opportunity to put on record my thanks to the people who make volunteering happen and who work tirelessly for volunteers every day. Now, I'm grateful to the Honourable Lady for highlighting the vital work that time banking plays in volunteering, because as she rightly pointed out, we know that recruitment and retention of volunteers is an increasing problem for charities, particularly the small local charities. NCVO's Time Well Spent survey, which was funded by my department, indicated that the primary barrier to volunteering among non-volunteers is not wanting to make an ongoing commitment. And this is where offering incentives can be an excellent way to encourage people to try out volunteering, and who knows, they may then want to make that ongoing commitment from then on. As the Honourable Lady has mentioned, I see that for over 7 years she has sat on the advisory group of Leith Time Bank in her constituency, and it's good to see, reading through some of the work, that from its inception, her work has helped to promote the time bank concept to a wide audience. And I too read the story of the 80-year-old man who's visually impaired, and it really is fascinating to listen to the experience that he is having, providing that one-to-one Spanish and French lessons in a local cafe, I believe, which is amazing. And also the example she gave of someone who clearly is a master at making soup. Maybe I'll have to go and try some at some point. But I think what she's highlighted throughout her contribution in her speech today is that this really does go to show the sort of true two-way nature of volunteering and how it can bring communities together. And that is why recognising the value of volunteer reward schemes, DCMS has had a hand in supporting their development. Between 2017 and 2020, Tempo Time Credits received a DCMS grant to help it scale up from its origins in Wales to pilot 3 new hubs in England. And as the Honourable Lady said, volunteers involved in the Time Credits programme felt more involved in community activities, felt healthier and felt more socially connected. Tempo have continued to do magnificent things and now have over 15,000 volunteers registered on their platforms. And similar initiatives have had equally significant impacts in the sector, including arts and the creative industries. In West Yorkshire, in my own area, the Leeds Creative Time Bank was established in 2010 with Arts Council England funding, and it has helped to create a thriving social economy for the arts across Leeds by facilitating the exchange of information and support amongst its members. And there's no doubt that time banking can be fantastic for rewarding and recognising volunteers. It is truly striking to see how time banking can help to foster those social connections and help local communities and economies to thrive. And funding from the government in this space has helped to test this really innovative model. Now, I know there are, however, barriers still to overcome that ensure that everyone who wants to can volunteer. And we are absolutely committed to encouraging and enabling volunteering across the country and to improving volunteering experiences. And this includes the next generation of volunteers and enabling them to create a lifelong habit of volunteering. And rewarding and recognising volunteers is a pivotal way to encourage more people to get involved and to volunteer. My department works very closely with Number 10 to coordinate the Points of Light Awards, where the Prime Minister recognises outstanding individuals and volunteers who are making real change in their community, inspiring others. And those awards are an essential part of telling the story of the impact of volunteering right across the UK. I also wanted to just say that beyond our work to recognise volunteers, we are providing funding and working with an extensive range of partners to ensure that there are clear entry points for volunteering. Another key initiative is the Vision for Volunteering. This is a voluntary sector-led initiative to develop volunteering in England over the next 10 years. And as a government, we have supported the vision from its outset, sitting on its advisory boards and lending its support to voluntary organisations that are taking this work forward. And one of the themes of the vision is to increase equity and inclusion, ensuring that volunteering is accessible and welcoming to everyone, wherever they may be. And last year we announced the Know Your Neighbourhood Fund, a funding package of up to £30 million, including £10 million from the National Lottery Community Fund. And this funding is widening participation in volunteering and tackling loneliness in 27 of the most disadvantaged areas in the country. And I'm glad that she mentioned loneliness. I also have the pleasure of being the Minister for Loneliness. And I really see that volunteering and how we expand volunteering can be an absolutely important tool at our disposal to bring those social connections together and help us to tackle loneliness in all of the age groups that we know do suffer from it. So this is a sort of brief glimpse, I think, of the vast amount of work that's going on to support volunteering, and I'm immensely proud of what we're trying to do in backing volunteering and enabling more people to benefit from the activity. And I'm really glad that she's had this debate today, because I think we all share the same ambition. and that is to support volunteers to make a real difference in their communities. And we will continue to test and support many ways to encourage and enable people to take part, and it's heartening to see the success that time banking can have to incentivise and reward volunteers, and I do thank all of those that are involved. And I would like to extend an opportunity to perhaps meet as she requested, because I'm always interested to hear about innovative ways that are working so that we can get all of our communities working together, because as I say, I see it day in, day out, the value of people volunteering, whatever that role may be, whatever form that may take. But crucially, I see it as a really important, as I say, tool for us to get those communities working together, those social connections which will help us break down the barriers of people talking about loneliness, because I think when it comes to loneliness, stigma is still one of the biggest issues that we have to face. So I would be more than happy to meet and to discuss what may be done, with the caveat that I don't have a great big pot of money at my disposal, but I'm sure there are other innovative things that we can think about so that we can perhaps spread the gospel, as it were, about how people can get involved in their communities. And I thank her sincerely for her debate.
The question is that this House has considered the potential merits of government support for time banking. As many of us opinions say aye, of the contrary no. I think the ayes have it. The ayes have it. Order, order. Sitting suspended until 4:30 p.m.